All right, today we're diving into one of the biggest questions you can possibly ask. What is the nature of God? We're going to explore this through the very specific lens of a text called the Urantia book, looking at how it describes the divine.
So, right off the bat, we hit a massive wall, don't we? How can our minds, which have limits, even start to wrap around a being that is by its very nature limitless? It honestly sounds impossible.
But here's the thing. This text gives us a way in. It says, look, let's put aside all the complex, abstract philosophy for a second and start with something we can actually relate to. And that starting point is seeing the Creator as a true spiritual father. This single idea is the key that unlocks everything else we're about to talk about. And that idea of a father brings us straight to our first big topic, the paradox of infinity. We're going to dig into what it even means, according to the source, to think about a being that has no beginning, no end, and absolutely no boundaries.
I mean, listen to this quote. It's not just saying God is big, it says his greatness is unsearchable. Think about that. It means it's a quality we can't ever fully measure or map out. It's fundamentally beyond our ability to comprehend.
And to really drive this home, check out this next line. The idea here is that even the heaven of heavens, the entire sum of all existence, isn't big enough to hold this being. The very concept of physical space just doesn't apply.
So here's the twist. This incredible absolute infinity, it actually creates a problem. According to the logic in this text, it creates a kind of cosmic gulf that literally shuts the Father off from having direct, personal contact with finite creatures like you and me.
Okay, so if there's this giant cosmic gulf, how do we ever bridge it? If we're cut off, how does any connection happen at all? Let's get into the mechanics this text lays out for how the infinite actually connects with the finite.
So the book describes three main ways, three pathways for this connection. First, there are the sons of God, where divinity actually takes on a mortal nature. Second, you have the infinite spirit and its whole host of celestial beings who minister and serve us. And then there's the third way, and this one is the most direct and personal. It's something called the thought adjusters.
Now, this idea of the thought adjuster, it's a real game changer in this text. It's described as an actual fragment of God, a literal piece of the universal Father that is sent to live inside the human mind. Just think about what that means for a second. Divinity isn't just something out there. It's presented as a part of us, living within us, working towards a goal of eventual eternal fusion.
All right, so we've got the how, the way the connection is made, but what about the who? What is the actual character of this being we're connecting with? Let's dive into what the source means by divine perfection. And right away, we run into what seems like a major contradiction, a classic puzzle. On one hand, you have perfect justice. What you sow, you reap. Simple cause and effect. But on the other hand, you have this idea of endless mercy. So how can a single being embody both of these perfectly at the same time?
Well, the source has this really beautiful solution it calls divine fairness. And it's not a compromise, not meeting in the middle. It's a synthesis of justice and mercy. It's both, applied with a perfect wisdom that completely understands our limitations, our struggles, and the situations we find ourselves in.
So what does that character look like in practice? Well, the text paints a picture of a father who is just inherently kind, naturally compassionate. Love is the number one trait in all personal dealings. And this part is absolutely key. It says God is never wrathful, vengeful, or angry. He loves the person, the sinner, while the impersonal laws of the universe deal with the action, the sin.
Okay, for our last section, let's pull all these threads together. We're going to look at three huge concepts the book calls divine realities: truth, beauty, and goodness.
So these aren't just fuzzy, abstract words. The text maps them directly onto our actual experience. Truth is what we grapple with in our intellectual lives, in science and philosophy. Beauty is what we experience through our senses, in the physical universe, in nature, in art. And goodness, well, that's something deeper, something we access through our own spiritual awareness.
And this is where it gets really personal. Why does any of this matter to you and me? Well, according to the book, it's everything. It makes this very direct claim that our own health, our sanity, and our happiness are the real-world results of weaving these three divine realities together in our own lives.
What's really cool is how this is all framed. It's not some dusty old philosophy. It's pitched as a living, breathing challenge for our time. The goal is to build a new way of living by integrating what we're learning about cosmic truth from science, the incredible beauty of the universe, and our own inner sense of divine goodness. So we'll end on this thought, a question for you to take with you. The text says that truth, beauty, and goodness all come together, perfectly unified in the personality of God. So the real question is, what would it look like if you tried to consciously unify them in your life? What could you create?